Welcome to PolkaWorld Interview. This is Kristen. In this episode, we will talk about a great project in Polkadot ecosystem that is Pendulum. It's very honored for us to have the founder of Pendulum to be here with us today. Let's welcome. Pendulum is an open source blockchain that aims to establish the missing link between Fiat and the DeFi ecosystem. And why is it important or essential to bring Fiat into DeFi? Because DeFi users, they are comfortable with the DeFi now, and why they have to use the Fiat, and there's a lot of security concerns.
Yeah, very good question. So we are targeting with Satoshi Pay. We are active already since 2014, right? So we always try to bring crypto innovation and decentralized finance innovation also to the mass user, to more users. And we were always experiencing that a lot of projects do care about crypto internal use cases and target audiences, right? They solve a lot of problems are solved for projects that you don't have when you are not in the blockchain space, right? So what we are always trying was solving problems for people who are not yet in crypto, so solving problems they have in their normal general life. And with Pendulum, we're focusing on SMEs and businesses that want to do cross-border transfers or foreign currency exchanges. And these people are not necessarily in crypto right now, so they have to deal with their suppliers. They pay them usually in their local currency, so in euro or in Canadian dollar or in Chinese yuan, or in Latam also in Brazilian real, or in their local currency. So they don't necessarily want to be exposed to volatile crypto assets, or even US dollar for them is also an exposure to a different currency. And that's why we think to really bring that to a user who is not already in the crypto space, and to make all these innovations for a cross-border payment or for a currency exchange available to those users. We want to integrate very deeply and connect their current system. And 90% of those businesses are currently using their bank, just a traditional classic bank. So we want to come as close as possible to those users so that they don't need to learn a lot about what is crypto, why should I use it. So we want to make it accessible for them. Yeah, as fast as possible. That's why I think it's very important, because it opens up also the crypto space for a lot more users. So not necessarily the ones that are already sending, let's say, Bitcoins or Ethereum or tokens around, but for the ones who are currently using our banking system in the world, which is very problematic, costly, and complex, and has a lot of problems for them. Yeah.
Yes, Fiat got the largest holders in the world. And it's good if we can attract them to DeFi, to our industry. But people now, they're using the foreign exchange to solve the globalization, to exchange currencies. What you guys are doing differently to help people? That's
great. Because in the current situation, we talked about this briefly before. So you see, especially from the security perspective, also from the transparency perspective, you see what could happen to, let's say, a private financial institution like FTX. What we've seen now, they could go bankrupt. They need to be audited. You need to build a lot of trust as a user for them. And you need to trust them, and then and if they are not behaving like you assume they should behave, then it could be that your money is lost, right? So many people lost their funds there now because it is locked in an intransparent black box, if you want, and you have to trust your money is there, but you don't know, right? So what we are trying to solve in that on that level, I'm just referring to it because of the recent events, is that we're bringing that market into a public blockchain, in a smart contract. Everyone can, at any time, any second, look into the reserves, look what's going on there, right? So if someone sends money and uses a Forex exchange or a Forex DEX on-chain, so a Forex AMM on Pendulum, for example, they can always be safe that this transaction will be executed because it's built into the code. They don't have to trust anyone for that, right? So, which is one big, I think, advantage. Just if you compare the traditional markets and the centralized products and institutions and products with the DeFi, right? So that's one big advantage that DeFi has. Also, that it's more transparent. We talk to a lot of business clients around the world, like businesses in Mexico, in Africa, and in Europe, and America, and they also have a problem that when they send money, and there is a time, takes like 2 days, 3 days, 5 days, sometimes 2 weeks, they wouldn't know where the money is currently, because the traditional cross-border transfer works the way that there is a lot of use, let's say in Europe and America, of SWIFT, which works as a corresponding banking system. There are a lot of intermediaries actually on their way. When you send the money, it will be, let's say, exchanged from another bank, then it will go through another bank, and then eventually arrive at the destination bank. And on all these intermediaries, you have a lot of work to do. So you have to check if the sender is reliable, is compliant. You have to be sure. Every bank has to do these checks on their own again, right? So it's a very fragmented journey that the money takes. And with our product, we're simplifying that a lot, and we're taking out a lot of intermediaries on that journey. So we are basically connecting the businesses that's sending money and that want to receive money directly through the blockchain and the AMMs and the protocols that are sitting on top of them, so through software. And I think that's the biggest advantage that we have, because that way we can save a lot of time and money for the users. But also, and that's interesting because of the decentralization of this product, the users can also take actually part in that business. So they can also put their liquidity, let's say someone has some Canadian dollars, and they can put that liquidity in the AMM and actually earn money also with them. So which is not possible in that locked system that you have in the traditional finance. So it's a real big disruption and innovation happening there. And we are focusing on the foreign currency exchange and the cross-border payments parts as the first breakthrough there, because we have a lot of experience in that market already. So we're working with Stellar for quite a while, and Stellar unfortunately had no smart contracts, and that's what we're adding for Pendulum. So we'll have smart contracts. We're working in the PolkaWorld ecosystem, so we have the next generation smart contracts, the WebAssembly smart contracts, and we are customizing our runtime, our blockchain, specifically to the use case of stablecoins and cross-border and in fiat currencies and cross-border transfers. So all protocols that will be built on Pendulum have many advantages on Pendulum if they build on Pendulum.
Yeah, and I think blockchain is a great stuff to solve a lot of decentralized problems happens in traditional financial system. But you know, it's sometimes it's very hard to convince the traditional peoples to join our industry. It's more about the awareness, the mindset, because in traditional industry, they got someone to blame if something happens. They get used to that. Yeah, they get used to that.
Yeah.
In blockchain industry, they have to, to set up everything all by himself. He have to control all of his data, and he have to be aware that he have the control of his data. And it's a way. It's a lot. We still need time to educate this kind of person. And by the way, we have to do a lot of infrastructure development. So our next topic is like forex market participants include government, business, and investors. It's very complex and requires safety. In terms of infrastructure, what's the missing part before DeFi is ready for bringing foreign exchange on-chain?
Yeah, there is definitely still a road we need to go. So it's not a platform where we just plugging two things together and then it works. So that's definitely right. So there is a lot to do in terms of infrastructure. When you say we need to educate the people, that's, I think, completely right. And I think that's the main task also we have today. So I think it's solvable. So there are already ideas how to handle these private keys, right? Because this is like, if you are your own bank, you also have to have more security measures, right? Privately in the company. I think there are already developments like that. We ourselves have that on the roadmap. Because if businesses want to use that, at first they need multi-signature or multi-user accounts, right? So you want to have, let's say, someone from a finance manager maybe suggesting a transaction, and then you want to have maybe the team member or the boss or the founder of the company who confirms that, right? So you want to have these nice flows that also the traditional banking offers on the blockchain level, and that's usually what is being built only later in the blockchain. So when you start first with a blockchain, then usually this comes a lot later. So we're focusing especially on that because it's very important for businesses to do that. It's actually also important for ourselves. So when we manage our own funds on chain, so we need these levels of security and yeah, also auditability, right? So someone is making a transaction, and where does it go? So there need to be processes in place, and that also needs to be supported by the blockchain and infrastructure. So that's one thing. I think it's usability, user experience from a business perspective, especially. So that's what we are focusing on. I think in terms of infrastructure, there is still, of course, let's say, challenges in terms of scalability, which every blockchain faces. I think Polkadot is doing a great job there. There will be upgrades to the protocol coming in December, where the block time, I think, is halved. So and they're working on the scalability issue a lot, which is great for the parachains because we can profit from that. I mean, we're also participating in some of the developments, but we're all working together, actually, right? Combining our tech power to improve that blockchain, improve that infrastructure. Specifically about foreign exchange, and you mentioned institutions also joining the game. It's pretty difficult for them. We are talking to financial institutions, regulated financial institutions, also here in Europe and US, around the globe. It's very difficult for them to join. Some are looking into it. The main players have compliance questions and research all about. So they want to know, okay, how can we do this in a regulated manner? Also, the regulation in Europe was just, I think, agreed on in the EU member states in this summer, will be implemented in the upcoming 18 months. So we are still in a phase where not everyone works with the same rules. The rules are not known yet, right? So the regulatory system is coming into the game. But I think we will see institutions joining probably later next year, but I think the infrastructure is already fine for users and businesses actually to use it for a currency exchange and cross-border payments. I think there it's mainly a usability issue because the technology is there, the AMMs and the DEX technology for currency exchange is there. We have stablecoins. They are a little bit, let's say, not really combined to this use case. So we have stablecoins somewhere on Cosmos, like there's emoney.com. We have then on Stellar, right? But we're missing smart contracts there. We have a lot on Ethereum and on other chains, but it's they all have very different, and it's still very fragmented, if you want to call it like that. And what we're trying to do is combining them, bridging to those ecosystems that are relevant, and building that infrastructure on Pendulum that you need to execute those payments and integrations to the banking network and currency exchanges. So I think that's what's missing. So the bridging and also the, let's say, trustless bridging. We see a lot of hacks for bridges, so that needs to be trustworthy. We need some more software development on that side. What we also need is more stablecoins. So we have already, we will launch with more than 15 different currencies on our platform. But of course, we want to support more. If we're talking global adoption here, we will need some more financial partners that are issuing those stablecoins in their geographies. And what we're also looking into, and there are very nice developments also recently, is to combine that with a digital identity and KYC and AML standards that needs to be developed so that they would work on chain, which would be the basis for institutions then to join. But we see that as a slower development. We see very, very nice developments there. There was actually the standard version 1.0 recently agreed on for decentralized identities. And we will see the Polkadot project Kilt, for example, they announced that they will partner with one of the big four accounting firms to launch that on Polkadot, which is very exciting. And we will definitely also implement that to build it for the Forex use case and for the cross-border payment use case. So there are technical things. I think UX is a big infrastructure problem. And then we have some regulatory issues that still needs to be developed. And we need more stablecoin adoption. We see a lot of stablecoin adoption already. So you always see these market caps of the main stablecoins going up. So there is a lot of migration happening already from traditional finance to blockchain. But I think to make it really usable for the mass user, there's still some way to go, especially for multi-sig and then interfaces, that this is usable also for people who are not very crypto savvy, right?
Okay, you've mentioned the regulation a little bit because when I first heard about linking from fiat to token, I think the first thing pop up in our mind is regulation. Especially we're located in China. Every year we only allowed to have a 5,000 US dollars because government, they have regulations to protect their own currencies, but people have the needs for globalization, so there's a trade-off. So our next topic, we can, detail this a little bit, like how Pendulum make sure that the component into the traditional financial system are efficient and easy.
Yeah, I mean, we are a layer 1 blockchain, right? So we provide the infrastructure and technology. We're working directly with financial institutions in different countries for the on-ramping or for the banking integration. It's similar to the Stellar blockchain, actually. And initially, we will also bridge over Stellar assets right to Pendulum. So we'll have these partners also on Pendulum. And they would take care, and that's what, for us, it's very great, because if you are an organization and you want to take care of the global regulation, it's almost impossible right now, because everyone is moving at different speeds, right? There's US, there's Europe, probably China, India. Everyone has a different approach, different speed, different view on that currently. What we have is we have international rules, how money moves in the traditional space already, right? And now this is like slowly adopted also for the crypto space. What we have with these partners, so they are the anchors into the interface into the traditional finance, and they are also mainly or mostly regulated and also licensed institutions. So if they are stablecoins, if they're sitting in geographies like Europe or US, they're definitely licensed and regulated entities, right? We have also Circle, USDC coming to Polkadot, which is a highly regulated entity there behind. And I think that helps actually the system, also creates more trust. And we will not see like stuff happening that there are some reserves missing, like we've seen most recently with centralized exchange that are not actually regulated or audited, right, or licensed. So this is the approach of Pendulum. So we will connect to them, but ultimately responsible will be the financial institution in that region. So when we have a partner, they take care about their local regulatory situation, because for us it's almost impossible like to see all that, and we have experts there in the world who can take care of that. What we will do is we will support this from the infrastructure perspective. So what we're currently doing is we are standardizing and formulating a standard for an identity for the KYC. We're driving this forward from the standardization level, so that our partners that are connected to Pendulum can more easily interconnect or communicate with each other, right? So they don't have to do the job again and again, like we've seen that in the correspondent banking system, but they can use the power that we have because on blockchain, we have encryption, we have transparency, and we're working on public blockchains. So you can actually reuse a lot of information and also do that in a private manner also, which is another infrastructure topic actually, because you don't want to be, you don't want to have all the transactions transparently, right? You need to also keep some privacy laws and you have to, send some transactions like of businesses in a private manner too. That's a topic I forgot in our infrastructure discussion. So that's one of the topics that also needs to be solved, but there are already good solutions to that, that you have privacy that can also be audited by a third party, right? So this is, I think, important, and we need that definitely also for cross-border transfers.
Because, stablecoin is a very hard work, because we already saw a lot of problem happens. How can they make sure that stablecoin is stable?
Yeah. Yes, I think the world learned a lot about this year, right? Especially, I mean, it all started learning about the algorithmic stablecoins in the beginning of the year, where we've seen how that ends. So that's also something I think we know will not work. So we are building a trusted network here. I mean, we're open to any kind of stablecoins, but I think what we've seen is that if you don't have 100% collateralized stablecoin, that just doesn't work somehow in the long term. So what's the most of the Stellar stablecoins, because also Stellar doesn't have smart contracts, they are just 100% fiat-backed stablecoins that they have there. And that's also the, let's say, preferred stablecoin that we will work with on Pendulum, because there is no liquidation risk here. It is a little centralized because you always need someone in the traditional banking system who owns that collateral or who's backing that on the bank account. But those are, as I said, regulated entities, usually like Circle for the USDC, who have to keep those reserves also public and give proof of those reserves regularly. So yeah, these stablecoins cannot lose their peg unless their bank account of the organization is going down, which is a risk that is much lower than if you compare that to some algorithmic stablecoins or some other stablecoins. Yeah, we will also, of course, support these over-collateralized stablecoins like the DAI, for example. So they are crypto-backed. I think as long as there is a collateral or over-collateral, and if you have more volatile assets, that we've seen that this works. So in the system, and it's definitely an innovation also that we want to work with, because we will start with a lot of fiat-backed stablecoins, which are more like real e-money. We call it electronic money, right? It already exists. I think it already has a lot of trust also, because it is also seen in some geographies from some regulators. It is seen as money, as just normal money that flows around. So that's a good start. But I think especially on the currency exchange, we might see more like innovation happening there with synthetic stablecoins or so that might be smarter to use in terms of liquidity efficiency. So that you don't need to exchange it actually in real fiat stablecoins sometimes, if it's, let's say, only used on a journey or is used between some parties, or there are some use cases where you maybe not necessarily want to exchange them in the real currency, and then you can profit from some more capital efficiency there. So yeah, we're open to that, but I think the most trusted environment currently is fully backed, fully collateralized, rather fiat-backed or crypto-backed stablecoins. I think
we can move to our next topic. Pendulum is building AMMs. Fiat token holders will be able to put their funds to work on Pendulum by depositing them into lending pools, or by providing liquidity to AMS and get yield earnings. I saw from your article that you got a very innovative way of AM, right? And you also got them a name. So I'm very interested in this part.
Two former team members, actually, they founded a protocol that builds on Pendulum, and they came up with a very novel design AMM, which is specialized on stablecoin swaps. So that's yeah, the math behind the price mechanism is especially great to swap to stablecoins and not these volatile crypto stablecoins. And there you have very low slippage, which is a great advantage to traditional, let's say, currency exchange or other AMMs. So we're comparing here with Uniswap V3 like AMMs here. So we will definitely have like around a 2x performance comparing to them. But also it's a novel design where when you provide liquidity, there is no impermanent loss. So you will not be dependent or like exposed to that volatility of the liquidity, let's say you of the trading that you provided liquidity for. So I don't know if you yeah, have heard of the impermanent loss topic. It is a standard topic if you deposit liquidity into AMMs, and there are some new designs, and Amber, our AMM, is one of them, who solves that issue, which is very exciting. And yeah, the team is very great, and they are also yeah, currently building to be one of the launch partners also of Pendulum in February. So yeah, we're very happy to have them, and the white paper is out. So if everyone wants to read more about it, it's published. We can also add a link here if you want. So that's it's great to have them. And I think it also shows that there is a lot of innovation and a lot more innovation and faster innovation happening on that whole DeFi space and on the blockchain space around yeah, basic functionality also. I mean, we see that. I mean, Uniswap is not that old, and now we are at V3 version 3 of that, and we are already improving it, customized for our use case, and yeah, feels great, and it serves the user and the liquidity providers there.
And back to security, you've mentioned you are working on a very great bridge, and so it comes to the DeFi and it comes to bridge, security is non-negotiable, and the safety of your funds is the utmost priority of the project. So what did you do to ensure the security regarding the and what technologies and everything you've done to try your best to make sure the safety of the fund?
That's a very good question. The first thing we did, and I think, I mean, as we're in PolkaWorld here, I mean, that's probably not a secret. So the first thing we did, we chose Polkadot as our ecosystem to profit from the shared security that Polkadot offers. So the Polkadot relay chain solves all transactions and all the security we need. So we don't have any thing to fear in terms of like double spending or attacking of validators, or that we need to build up a fully decentralized like node network first before we can invite the first clients to use our platform. So that's the smart opportunity and advantage we have from the Polkadot ecosystem. So Polkadot, like a multi-billion-dollar secured and decentralized blockchain, is also securing Pendulum, and that's great. I think this gives us also the chance to move fast in that market. They don't need necessarily to trust Pendulum. They can trust Polkadot here, right? And I think we all profit from this shared security inside the Polkadot ecosystem, and that's great. And I think it solves most of the issues other ecosystems and blockchains have. So that's fantastic. There, all our, like, let's say, a smart contract will run there, so that's all secured there. Also, directly issued stablecoins will run there. In terms of bridges, we looked at because we want to bridge the Stellar blockchain, because that's the most relevant in terms of stablecoins out there. And there we were looking at different concepts, and usually you see like less secure bridge concepts where you have these multi-signature accounts that are then signing on transactions or creating and minting some tokens. We will not have that. So what we were deciding on initially, we were using more decentralized approach, a more trustless approach for the bridges. So it will be collateralized. That's first. So there will be a collateral. We learned from the stablecoins here, and this collateral will also not be locked in one account or in a huge account, but it will be in decentralized vaults, and there will be vault operators putting liquidity into those accounts to secure the bridge and to make the bridge also operational, which is a lot harder to attack because you would need to attack each of the participants themselves. You don't have like one big target or a multi-signature account that you can attack. And that is from the architecture, security architecture, our approach to make this really secure. And I think that's it. The rest would be that we, of course, we are going for audits on Pendulum. So initially, market maker, the blockchain itself, will be audited. I think that's also a big learning that we've seen. So code that was unaudited was mainly attacked or could be used for abuse or from different players. And with that concept, actually, when you look at, like, let's say, the main protocols out there, also the top DeFi protocols like Aave or Curve, or they're very secure out there. So it's a little bit, let's say, people from the outside of the crypto system, they don't really can understand, okay, what was this hack about, right? Was it a blockchain? Was it a protocol? Was it a bridge? What is the difference? What is now unsecure? They just hear there's a hack, it's not secure, right? I think this is just what we have to live and what we have to probably educate people on. I mean, we also have hacks in the traditional banking system, of course, so we will always have hacks also. I think we also need a way to deal with them, and also to put them into their categories, and also like looking objectively on them, right? And don't generalize too much. So it's really a very different thing, like a bridge hack and a protocol hack, and then sometimes you have these governance hacks and so on. So there's many different attack vectors here that sometimes you not only have in crypto, you also have them in the traditional finance, right? So that's not really the difference. Yeah, but I think we secured that mostly with our approach, and we have a big priority on security, of course, on Pendulum.
And we've talked the infrastructure and the compliant, the security, and what do you think are the hurdles on the path to mass adoption?
If I have to, I mean, people are sometimes saying, we need the institutions there for mass adoption. I think in the mid or long term, if we make blockchain usable also for standard users who are not technically involved or have a technical background, that would be, I think, for me currently, the main hurdle for mass adoption. As you said, we talked about, let's say, security software, some infrastructure parts, so also making it accessible everywhere, and also scalable, so that we can actually serve so many users, right? I mean, this is also a hurdle we have to solve. But as, let's say, the whole blockchain world is working on it, I'm pretty sure we will solve that within the next years. And for me, the main hurdle stays the usability and the user experience. When we solve that, people are not fearing to lose their money, and we will find good ways of onboarding people onto blockchain that are comparable to onboarding users in the Web2 world without a lot of overhead and education and additional risk added. I think, that will be my main key challenge that we all can solve also. And also, it's not a Pendulum specific problem. I think it's a problem where there are already some solutions out there from like social private key recovery or other mechanisms. I think Trust Wallet, or there is a lot of development on that side too. And I think once we solve that, and then also for Polkadot, then we will see mass adoption there.
Okay, any roadmaps or plans to share in the end?
From Pendulum perspective, so our next steps are the parachain auction and starting the batch starting 16th December. So everyone interested, curious about the community, about cross-border payments, every business doing international trade, or if you want to, we are building that community right now. You can join us. You can also profit from that if you take part in the parachain auction. And then the next big step for us is when the lease spot starts, then 12th February for us. So in February next year will be the launch of our mainnet. So we're building currently the tech. It's a lot of work and building the community there. And we will launch with the AMM in February next year. So that's our biggest milestone for the next months. Yeah.
That's all for our interview, and it was a great time. Very happy, and thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, I also enjoyed it very much. It was great talking to you. Thanks, Kristen, for the interview, for the talk. And I hope we see each other again. Maybe we can do this maybe after the auction or even before launch again. Yeah, for sure.